Hey guys, it's Austin. So today is January 24th, 2026. Today I'm going to be mentioning every presidential first in American history. Before I begin, make sure you like and subscribe to see more. So here we go. George Washington. Washington was the first president to be elected unanimously, twice, which means he was so popular that he received every single electoral vote, twice. No other president could pull this off. John Adams. John Adams was the first president to live in the White House. Washington saw it being built, but it wasn't complete yet, so Washington never lived in the White House. Thomas Jefferson. Jefferson was the first president to be inaugurated in Washington, D.C. Washington and Adams were inaugurated in either New York or Pennsylvania. James Madison. Madison was the first president to leave office with a parent alive, his mother. Washington and Adams, their moms lived to see them take office, but they both died while their sons were in office. Jefferson already lost both his parents by the time he took office. James Monroe. Monroe was the first president to be president of the era of good feelings. There was one major political party and no problems. John Quincy Adams. Adams was the first president to be the son of a president, John Adams. Sadly, his dad died a year after he took office. Andrew Jackson. Jackson was the first president to ride a train and the first president to, the second president to be an orphan as a kid, the first being Monroe. Martin Van Buren. Van Buren was the first and only president to speak English as a second language. William Henry Harrison. Harrison was sadly the first president to die in office on April 4th, 1841 from pneumonia. John Tyler. John Tyler was sadly the first and only president to be buried with a Confederate flag instead of an American flag, as he sided with the South during the Civil War. James Polk. Polk was the first president to be survived by a parent, his mother. Like Madison, Polk left office with his mother alive. Unlike Madison, he was survived by his mother, the first president to be so. Zachary Taylor. Taylor was the first president with no political experience, though he was in the military. Millard Fillmore. Fillmore was the first president to leave office with his father alive, Nathaniel Fillmore. Like Quincy Adams, he had his dad alive when he took office. Unlike Adams, Fillmore's dad lived another 10 years after his son left office. Franklin Pierce. Pierce was the first president to memorize his inaugural speech. Dang, you go, Pierce! James Buchanan. Buchanan was the first president, and by far only, to be a bachelor. Abraham Lincoln. Still my favorite president, even Lincoln had a first. The first president to wear a beard, and the first born outside the original 13 colonies. He was born in Kentucky. Andrew Johnson. Johnson was the first president to be impeached, though he was acquitted by just one vote. Man, you're one lucky dude, Johnson. Ulysses S. Grant. Grant was the first president to take office with both parents alive. His dad, Jussie, attended the inauguration, but his mom, Hannah, did not. Sadly. Rutherford Hayes. Hayes was the first president to win the election, winning the electoral vote, but losing the popular vote. Like Quincy Adams, he lost the popular vote. Unlike Adams, he won the electoral vote. Barely! James Garfield. Garfield was the first president whose mother attended his inauguration. His mother, Eliza Garfield, who went on to outlive James by 6 years after his assassination. Chester Arthur. Arthur was the first president to play the banjo. Grover Cleveland. Cleveland was the first president to serve 2 non-consecutive terms, the other being the president today, Donald Trump, which we'll get to him in a bit. Benjamin Harrison. Harrison was the first president to be the grandson of another president, William Henry Harrison, who died when Benjamin was just 7. William McKinley. McKinley was the first president to use campaign buttons. His friend, Mark Hanna, did all the work for him. McKinley did not have to leave his house. Man, what a good friend. Theodore Roosevelt. Roosevelt was the first president to be elected after taking office not by election. You see, he was originally vice president for McKinley. But McKinley was assassinated, so Roosevelt took over. William Howard Taft. Taft was the first president to later be Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, a job he loved way more than being president. It's the job he wanted all along. Woodrow Wilson. Wilson was the first president to have a PhD. You see, before he was president of Princeton University. Warren G. Harding. Harding was the first president survived by his father. Like Adams, Fillmore, and Grant, Harding had his dad alive when he took office. Unlike those three, Harding was survived by his father, who lived another 5 years after his son's death. Calvin Coolidge. Speaking of fathers, Coolidge was the first president sworn in by his father, John Calvin Coolidge Sr. And later, Coolidge became the first president sworn in by a former president, William Taft. Herbert Hoover. Hoover was the first president to speak Chinese, and apparently pretty well. Franklin D. Roosevelt. Roosevelt was the first president to be physically disabled, though he hid it from the public. He had polio since he was 39, though he hid it from the public well, and the first and only president to serve 4 terms. I don't see another president serving 4 terms anytime soon. Harry S. Truman. Truman was the first president of the 20th century to not attend college. Many others have done it, but they were all in the 19th century. Dwight Eisenhower. Eisenhower was the first president with a pilot's license. He fought in World War I and World War II. John F. Kennedy. Kennedy was the first Catholic president and the first president to be survived by both parents and his grandmother, though she never knew about it. Lyndon B. Johnson. LBJ was the first president to win Alaska as a Democrat. To this day, it's the only time Alaska has voted Democrat since it became a state in 1960. Richard Nixon. Nixon was the first president to resign from office because of the Watergate scandal. Gerald Ford. Ford was the first president to not use his birth name in office. You see, he was born Leslie Lynch King Jr., but his father, Leslie Lynch King Sr., was abusive to his mother, Dorothy, who left him 2 weeks later. Jimmy Carter. Speaking of names, Carter was the first president to use his nickname in office, Jimmy, instead of James Earl Carter Jr. Ronald Reagan. Reagan was the first president to be an actor. He was hilarious. George H.W. Bush. Bush was the first president to ban broccoli from the White House. Bill Clinton. Clinton was the first president to play the saxophone. George W. Bush. Bush was the first president to leave office with both parents alive. You go, George! Like Grant and Kennedy, he took office with them both alive. Unlike the two men, Bush left office with both parents alive, both parents dying 9 years after he left office. Barack Obama. Obama is the first African-American president. Donald Trump. Trump is the first president with no political or military experience, just a businessman and a and a reality TV star. Joe Biden. Biden was the first president from Delaware. Make sure you like and subscribe to see more.